everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Casey. My name is Casey Samson. We take about an hour every Thursday to go over some important things in real estate. Today we're going to talk about negotiations. So, of all the attributes a realtor can be or has to be, whether it's a psychiatrist, an accountant, a mathematician, whatever we do, we really have to be great negotiators. There's a lot of things you negotiate. Now, I know that they said that today's class is going to be on contract negotiations. Unless you win 5 major negotiations, there won't be a contract negotiation. You're not even going to get to the contract negotiation. So we're going to start at the beginning, right? So the first thing is, if you want to be a great negotiator, you have to start with some professionals. The best person to listen to is a guy named Chris Voss. Chris Voss is an FBI hostage negotiator that now works with businesses on how to negotiate deals and whatever it is. And the whole goal with Chris is, you have information, I need that information. I need to know what's more important for you. I need to shut up and listen and ask the right probing questions, whether it's mirroring or labeling or whatever it is. There's information that you have that if I don't get out of you, I'm going to lose the negotiation. So let's talk about where we negotiate. There's 3 main things you need to do. 1, you need to have leverage. If you're going to negotiate and there's 1 of me and there's 10 of you, I win. We haven't even started. I already won the negotiation. Because then I sit back and I can play one against the other and negotiate my way up. But if I'm 1 of 10 and there's only 1 of you, now you've won the negotiation. Now it's going to be a little tougher. Now we got to flip things around. Okay? So the 3 things to learn are basically, first, you got to have leverage, right? The second thing is you have to set expectations. If I don't set expectations correctly, which if you don't think that's a negotiating skill, you're crazy. That is the main thing, is set the expectations of where we want to be. What is the first thing a seller wants to hear? Price. So we're not going to talk price. We're going to talk, the expectation is to get the highest possible value out of this house in this market at this time. That's what we're going to do. That's the expectation. Now, how we're going to meet that expectation, that's how we walk through things. But the main thing is, somebody will say a price, and they're just going to think numbers, 1.4, 1.3, 1.2. Well, he said 1.5, so he must be better than you because you said 1.4. Lost negotiation. You already lost it. So setting expectations is critical on how we do that. The third one is stay calm. How many of you have, we see it every weekend I have this. We have going on the market, people lined up to see it, somebody comes in with a contract, it's $100,000 over. They want you to sell it. They want you to take this contract. They're trying to jam it down your throat. If you lose it, you lose $100,000 for your client. Stay calm. Everybody stay calm. They're not going anywhere. Don't let anybody bluff you. Don't let anybody push you. If they're going to push you before we even get into the contract negotiation, if they're going to try and jam something down your throat before, that's called a bully technique. And a bully technique, you do not want to get in a transaction with a bully. You do not. Because that's not the last time they're going to be a bully. They're going to be a bully on inspections and walkthroughs and contracts and lenders. They're going to be a bully through the whole thing. So if we've worked hard that we're the group that have the leverage, we're not going to give up the leverage right out of the gate because we got freaked out and panicked. Do not panic. Stay calm. If you don't stay calm, you're in deep trouble. Let me give you a couple examples. So one of the agents worked with us, Ferris Eway. He's got a contract, it's under contract. It's $2.5 million. It's a very, very big deal. Very big deal. All of a sudden, the buyer loses his job. Oh my gosh, I lost the contract. We lost the contract. Contract's kicking out. Seller's freaking out. Buyer's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. Who's got to be calm? Ferris. Let's go over our options. Right? Let's just stay calm. Do you like the house? Yeah. Do you really want the house? Yeah. So all we really need to do is get you a job offer of similar size in the same industry that will allow you to qualify for this mortgage. Do not panic. So we calm the seller down, calm the buyers down. We get them focused on what we need to do. That was a negotiation, right? Because we were getting ready to lose a commission on a $2.5 million deal, of which there was only 1 buyer. This is all we got. So just the third thing you need to remember in a negotiation is just stay calm. And you got to come up with a plan. You always have a plan. So And there may be 3 plans. Plan A is this, plan B is this, plan C is that. You can't start thinking of what the plan's going to be if you're like, well, 2 points on 2.5 million is $50,000. I just lost $50,000. Oh my God, Jesus, what could I have done with $50,000? Stay calm. We haven't lost anything. Just relax. All right. So let's start where we negotiate. So there's a lot of different ways along this, and the reason I say the contract negotiation, you're not going to get to the contract negotiation unless you win 4 or 5 very tough negotiations in the beginning. And let's start at the beginning. What's the first negotiation? Are you going to use me or somebody else? That is a negotiation, right? So if I have the leverage, you need to clearly articulate. Why they should be using you instead of somebody else. And again, when I have leverage, I want, and Danny's an expert at this too, I want to have so much power before we start that I've already won it before we've even started. I just need to lay it out to you in a very workmanlike manner, right? So what does that mean? Well, you got a track record nobody can beat. You got a price nobody can beat. You got a formula for doing pricing nobody can beat. You got a marketing strategy nobody can beat. You got a preparing the house nobody can beat. All of that, by the way, has been laid out methodically over the last couple months on this series we have about the first 96, right? So we have a plan, and we need to articulate the plan. Now, let me tell you a story. Coach a freshman football team. I'm a defensive guy, and I yell at the outside linebacker. I'm like, watch the flat, watch the flat. I know they're going to throw it out in the flat. That's their favorite play. We're playing DeMatha. And so sure enough, they throw it out in the flat. The guy catches the ball. He gets 10 yards. The linebacker never budged. And I told him, watch the flat. So 5 plays go by, 6 plays go by. Here we come, same situation, same formation. They're going to throw it to the flat. Trust me, they're going to the flat. Watch the flat. They throw the flat. They get 10 yards. Linebacker never budged. I replace him. I bring him off the field. I'm like, I told you twice. I called the play. I said, watch the flat. He goes, Coach, I don't know what the flat means. I have no idea what that means, right? So when you go in, we're talking. Are they listening? Do they understand what I'm saying? Now, I can't tell you any better story to remember than did you tell the seller where the flat was. Don't assume they know anything. Don't assume anyone knows anything. You need to lay it out in a methodical way, and your negotiation is, I'm going to use the leverage, I'm going to set expectations, and I'm going to stay calm. Because if you get nervous in a listing presentation, you will lose them. They're looking for calm and confident people to run their deal. They need to trust somebody, right? And I often say, all you really need to do to hire a realtor is, trust them and like them, right? Well, if your deal is so good, if your leverage is so high, if your statement is so good, you really don't even need to like me. And I tell the seller that. It's like, if you trust me and you see if it's that good, you really don't need to like me, just to use me, right? So, and I can go back to every listing appointment we've gone that we didn't get the listing, in that I didn't explain where the flat was. I just lost a listing appointment 2 weeks ago when the lady is talking, and she's talking about these chairs she has. She's hand-stitched this to her, right? And I'm Casey Samson. I'm talking about, the sales and price and all, and wasn't listening. And she picked a realtor because they knew how to get rid of that furniture. They knew how to sell that furniture, right? But I didn't explain to them, it is important to get rid of and find the furniture, but that is maybe 1% of this entire transaction is about selling furniture, right? The difference between doing it right and doing it wrong at her level is $100,000. The difference between selling it at the peak or selling it low is $100,000. I did not tell her where the flat was. I didn't stop. And go back and say, I know that's very important to you, and I'm sure we can find out something, a way to get this stuff sold, but that's $5,000. This is $100,000 to $150,000 difference in this deal. So let's focus on this, and we'll focus on that. But I wasn't listening to what she said, right? So anyways, when we're going through, the first step of negotiation is get the deal. Once we get the deal, right? The second step in that negotiation, which is a big one, is what are we going to price the house at? What are we going to price the house at? Now, artificial intelligence is in this area of pricing is a dumpster fire. I lay out to them very clearly. This is where Realtor.com says it's worth. This is what Zillow says it's worth. This is what RPR says it's worth. And this is what. So in negotiating the price, I need to take out of it, because I know they're thinking Zillow. Zillow said 1.2, it must be worth 1.2. But if I could show her that everybody else was all over the place, then that's, and discredit the competition, which is the AI of pricing on real estate, then I could say, this is how you really price a house. And I walk them methodically how we get to that price. So we have a negotiation. If you've got 1.3 stuck in your head and your house worth 1.1, are we ever going to get to a contract negotiation? No. I will make this statement. 50% of the houses within the next 60 days, 50% will go unsold and withdraw and expire. Mark my words, and I'll show it on Coffee with Casey. Right now it's July something, end of July. I will tell you that in August, it's going to be 50% of the homes are going to go unsold, right? So if we don't win that contract the negotiation of pricing, of getting it to the right spot, then we've lost again, right? Well, we're wasting our money. We're a seller that overpriced it and then have to sit there and tell them every week why it's not selling. Oh, you keep saying it's price. You keep saying it's price. It is price. You're damn right it's price. So when I'm done with a listing with my pricing, there is no other option than that price. We're all looking at it. We're all big boys and girls. We're all professionals. Either the husband or the wife is sometimes there's a numbers person to be the wife. Sometimes it's the husband, but there's a numbers person in between the two of them. And you lay it out. And what you're trying to do is the wife may say, I think it's worth about 1.1, and the husband may say it's worth 1.3 minimum. All we're doing is giving ammunition to the one that's correct. That's all we're doing. We're validating the one seller that's correct. This is a big-time negotiation. If we list it high, we will never get to a contract phase. So this negotiation of pricing is extremely important. Discredit the social media because it's bad, or the AI, it's just horrible, right? I gave a perfect example the other day. House was worth $1.4 million, and I went in, and again, I didn't do my homework because I didn't see what did everybody else price it at, which is my normal protocol. But he called at 11, wanted to meet at 1, I didn't do it. So I say, we arrive at, it's 1.4. And he looks at me like I had just killed his kid. I said, what's the matter? He goes, it's $2 million minimum. I said, $2 million? What are you talking about? 75% of the houses in this price range are my listings, and I can tell you this is exactly what it is. Now, Zillow says it's worth 1.85 to $2 million. And I got a big backyard, so it must be $2 million. I didn't check. I don't know that it will help. But do you think that listing it at $1.8 million, all the money wasted on that and all the time and energy wasted on that, is they're going to get paid? They're not. It's a Samson agent too. They're not going to get paid, okay? It's crazy. It's $400,000 over where it should be. So setting the price where it is important. And last week, every week I do a weekly update, and it's on my website. If you look at just look at the market snapshot, that's what happened for the week. And you're looking at it going, there's 19 new listings on the market, 19 in Vienna, 19 new listings, 0 went under contract last week. So we have 19 new listings. We have 0 coming on that went under contract. And I'm getting ready to launch a listing into that market, right? So the expectations weren't set correctly originally because the assessment was way off. So I started looking at it, and I'm like, look, we really should be at 1.3, not 1.4. The assessment is incorrect. It's got to be 1.3. So then, how do we go from 1.4 to 1.3? This is a negotiation, right? How do we go from this to that? Well, we're going to do it in tiers. We're going to try 1.35. Let's just see if anybody's out there at 1.35. Nobody's there. We moved to 1.3. Now I'm at where I want to be. 5 contracts. There's 19 houses on the market. Nothing's under contract. We had five contracts, and they all ended at about 1.315, right? So had I brought it out at 1.35, or heaven forbid, 1.4 million, had those sellers dug in at 1.4 million, we're not getting paid. We're wasting our time, we're wasting our energy, and we're wasting our money, right? So the first one is work with us. I want to be your realtor. The second one is we've got to set the price correctly. And again, I will tell you the key is the predictive analysis I think I did a couple weeks ago, and that is get within a $50,000 range and then test one of the ranges. Test it. I tested 1.35. I'm like, expectations are 1.4, we're at 1.3, how do I get there? I test 1.35. Doesn't test. Move to 1.3. Got it. Everybody came in at 1.315. If I stayed at 1.35, I never would have got anything. So the negotiation of getting from 1.4 to 1.3 is a very touchy one that you go through, right? And why? Tell them where the flat is. Look, let me tell you something. If there's one thing that I tell our agents, and that is that always helps us, the truth will set you free. I screwed up. The assessment is $100,000, but now that I look at it, they overassessed it. You know, they went up 28% instead of 10%. The assessment is wrong, which then made my model wrong. So it's really not that, it's this. But let's go from here to there. So in other words, I'm telling them where the flat is. I'm explaining how do you go from 1.4 to 1.3? How does that happen? The truth will set you free. I'm not going to hide anything. Just tell them, hey, man, the assessment, I looked at it. It went up too high, too fast. And that's what's throwing everything off. Let's test one. Let's move to the other. So now the predictive analysis helps us win the negotiation on what the price is going to be. Big deal. Big point. Next one. Next negotiation we have. Seller doesn't want to do anything to that house. Any of us have that? That yellow paint looks fine. This looks great. Oh my God, the antique furniture is wonderful. Lighting fixtures from 1980 look great. Next negotiation. How are we going to get this house in the proper shape? And we all have to do that. It's very simple. I didn't follow your instructions, Coach. I didn't turn everything off. Everybody blowing me up. Now, how do we do that one? Now, I will be honest with you. This is why I think that we should be teaming up with younger realtors. Because a 30-something realtor knows what 30-something buyers are looking for. 40-something realtors know what 40-something buyers are looking for. I'm 65 years old. I don't have the energy to try and work you into painting this house or fixing this up or changing out all the doorknobs or doing what's right. But I have people with me that do. And Morgan will put her foot down and say, absolutely not. We are painting this whole house. It was 6,800 square feet above grade. 6,800 with high ceilings everywhere. And it was a little yellow. And I was like, don't say it, Morgan. Don't say it. Please don't say it. Oh, we're painting this house. Now, let me tell you. A lot of people won't say anything or do anything because they think they're going to lose the listing. But I will tell you, in some circumstances, you must get that house properly prepared. Again, there is 19 houses on the market and only 4 went under contract. I'm sorry, at that time, none were under contract. 1 week, 19 new homes, 6 coming soon, 0 were under contract. Price, condition had to be perfect on all of them. And I will tell you that when I go into a listing presentation, I set that right on there and I go, 19 homes went on the market, 0 went under contract. We put ours on and went under contract with 5 contracts. How do you do that? Priced it right and prepared it correctly. We painted that whole house. We fixed made sure the fixtures were correct, made sure the lighting fixtures were correct. So the negotiation of preparing a home is a massive negotiation. It's not a little one. It's a big one, right? And again, I guess, that's why I think when I say team is important because those alt agents, they know what they're looking for. They know what they need. They know what it needs to be, and they know how to do it. And they're like, don't worry about it. We've got the painters. We got the this. Any dollar you invest, we'll get 7 to 10 times our amount of money back. By the way, let me show you a picture of a $975,000 house. This is what it would sell. This is what it would be, $975,000. Let me show you what we did to it, and it sold for $1,095,000. So that's $120,000 more, and we had $8,000 worth of paint. How hard is it going to be to win that negotiation when you say $975,000, average days on market, 85? This is Penderbrook. Average days on market was 85 days. We made it look like this. It sold in the first weekend. I think, I don't want to misquote, they had at least 18 contracts, and it sold for 100 and sold for $1,095,000. Again, we win the deal that they're going to work with us. We win the pricing, so they're going to price it correctly, and we win the preparation of the house. Now, once we've done all those things, now we've achieved the first thing in contract negotiation, leverage. There's going to be one of me, and there's going to be 10 of them. If we put our house in that kind of condition, and again, most realtors will not put it in the proper condition because they're afraid to lose the listing. Show them how, flip that around and show them how not only are we going to do it, but it's going to make you money. $975,000, $95,000. Stories tell. You've got to have a story. You've got to have a story that you've done and display that in a really well thought out manner, just like telling somebody where the flat is. I'm going to tell you where the flat is. I don't want to paint that house. You don't want to paint that house. But if we spend $10,000, we're going to make $125,000. Now you start thinking about it. Now they start going, well, what can you do? Okay? And then, again, if you guys, maintain this, then you start building a track record, and we'll look at them and go, well, 34 houses went on the market, not one of them made it past a week. That's the track record. So if we can do this and do this and do this and do this, then we will have 10 people coming at us, and there will be just one of us. So when we win the negotiation. Now, we've just said all of this stuff. We haven't even got to the contract negotiation yet, right? If you're going to be a great negotiator, you got to have the leverage over everybody else. And then you got to be firm. So what does everybody want to bring in as a buyer's agent on their contract? Throw a couple things out at me, guys, that they want in their contract. If you're a buyer agent, what do you want? Right, that's out. Go ahead, next. Next. Huh? Yeah, that's out. Next. So, yeah, no. I'm not going to do that. Anybody want an escalation clause? How many of you, if you've got the buyer, want to have an escalation clause? If you're a buyer's agent, how many of you want an escalation clause? Everybody's hand should be up. Everybody's hand get up. Do we want an escalation? You God dang right we want an escalation. We're working for the buyer. That's in the buyer's best interest. We all want escalation clause. Why? What if we're the only contract? What if everybody else is down in the 800s? We don't want to start talking 900s if everybody else is in the 800s. We want for our client an escalation clause, right? I'm the listing agent, and we don't want escalation clauses. We don't want home inspections. We don't want appraisals. We don't want any of that. Can I dictate, if I have 10 listings competing for 3 buyers, can I dictate any of that? Nope. We're looking at a home inspection. We're looking at financing contingency. We're looking at possible contingent on the sale of your home. And we're looking at escalation clauses, right? So this is all dictated by, am I the 1 or am I the 10? I got to be the 1. If I'm the 1, how are we going to be the 1? How are we going to be the 1? Because we priced it right. We did our homework on a predictive analysis to make sure that we're at the right price, and we have people coming in. We got 20 people walking in that house. Do you think I know I got contracts coming in? You bet your ass. I got one contract for every 6 people that walks in that house. So I know I've got at least 2 or 3 coming in. So during the predictive analysis, I know I got people coming in. And when they come in, they're going to see a really nice looking house. Why? Because we prepared it correctly. Now I become the one. And I'll tell you why I'm the one and they're the 10. Because they don't price it right, they don't prepare it correctly, and they're fishing, they're overpriced. They're going to sit. And what happens when you sit? That's what starts happening to the price. It starts going down. You go into a death spiral. Something's wrong with the house. Didn't sell in the first weekend, something's wrong with the house. You're in a death spiral. Now, what's going to happen next? The next the next negotiation you're going to have with the seller, if your house doesn't sell, what is the next thing you're going to do? You're going to have to drop the price. Right? You're going to drop it $10,000. Nah. Buyer pool is at 50. The next closest buyer pool is 50. Now, let's say we're in the $500,000 price range and not the thing. It ain't 10,000. It's at least 25,000. So let's look at thresholds. If you're in the 5s or 6s, maybe it's 25,000. If you're in the 800 to $1.2 million, it's 50,000. If you go over $1.4 million, it's at $100,000. The next closest buyer pool is $100,000 lower. So understanding the buyer pools is critical in negotiating the price of where we're going to put that house. Let's say we have a house that's somewhere around, all the models say $1,025,000. Are we going to list it at $1,025,000? No. Right? Because how many people are looking for homes under $1 million versus how many people are looking for a home over $1 million? 10 to 1, 8 to 1, 5 to 1, it's at least 4 to 1, right? In some cases, it's at least 4 to 1. So if I can just dip you to $1 million, right, then we've opened up our buyer pool, and now there's more of them than us. So when we're negotiating our price, part of it is showing them where the buyer pool is. And when you go to Hit Counter, right? Everybody know where Hit Counter is? You go on MLS, go to Bright. Down here, if you have listings, it'll have a thing called a Hit Counter. Hit the Hit Counter. It'll show you all your listings. It'll show you how many people are in your buyer pool, how many clients have stored searches, how many people opened up the emails when they got them, how many people favor the house. The one in the middle is what your buyer pool is. How many people actually open that email? You got 60 people in your buyer pool. Ain't no. You drop it from $1 million to $950, and we'll have 185 in the buyer pool, right? So we've at least doubled, if not tripled, the size of the buyer pool every time we move down. And you can't move in small increments because you're not going to do any good. There's no new buyer pool. If I go from $1 million to 985,000, there's no buyer pool there. Same buyer pool. So you've got to get to another buyer pool. You've got to get to the right buyer pools. So when we talk about being the 1, not the 10, right? We want to play to the biggest market in the best condition at the right price, get them all in the house. Then we're the ones that are properly. And again, let me tell you, everybody, I know this is a fact. So I'm getting ready to put a house on the market, and I'm like, well, we got a problem. There's 6 homes active on the market. 6. There's nothing under contract. The 4 sales, we had 4 sales in 60 days. So am I in trouble, or where do we have to be? Where do we have to be on this? I mean, there's 6 of them out there. And well, then the next question is, are they overpriced and underprepared? Are they not selling because they are overpriced? So the ones that sold, the 3 that sold, were at 110% of assessment. The ones on the market are 125 to 135% of assessment. So I look at the seller and say, don't even worry about them. They're so overpriced, it's pathetic. And I can show you why. If the 3 sold at 110, again, tell them where the flat is. If the 3 sold at 110 and they're all at 125 to 135, are they overpriced or not? I'm not worried about them. Let's just go forward. Let's price where we want. Let's prepare where we want. Let's do our prep work. Let's do our predictive analysis. Let's roll out. Trust me, we'll get contracts. Don't worry about it. What they want to do, they want to trust you. So every time you tell them something, you need to validate that. There's a big difference between AI and AI. Artificial intelligence, authenticated intelligence, right? So we don't want to We want to use artificial intelligence, but not all of it, right? We need to know the difference because I'm going to authenticate what they say or do over here. Authenticate it. And if you don't know how to price a house, you need to watch these things, you need to work on it. Because they need to watch you, and if you say, well, if everybody else is at 110% and $400 a square foot, the actives are now on at $450 a square foot and 125% of assessment, they're overpriced. And they can see you analyze it right in front of their face. So, I always say that there's three kind of realtors. Let's go back to college. You either have a major, you have a minor, or you have an elective, right? Right? Isn't that right? Isn't that what it was? If I remember back, it was 100 years ago, but I think that's what it is. My major, I have a passion for. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to know everything there is to know because I got to earn my living doing that. The minor is a backup. I got to get good grades. It's a backup. I need to know this information. The elective, just give me a frickin' C, man. Just do what you got to do and get a C. So I think realtors are in three different categories. They're either, this is their major. Real estate is their major. They have a passion for it. They know everything there is to know. They're experts on pricing, experts on preparation, experts on marketing, experts on contract negotiations. Or it's a minor. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing all right. I like to golf. When you're a realtor, you get to golf a lot, And then there's the electives. Well, it sounds like fun. Real estate sounds like fun. Let's do some real estate. Sounds like fun. Not an expert in pricing or this or that or the other thing. They're just an elective. So when you're negotiating with somebody, you need to know, are you dealing with somebody where this is a major? Or is this just a minor? Or are they just doing this as elective surgery? Because let me tell you something. If I'm selling a house, I want to sell it to a person that this is their major, that they have control of their clients, they know how to do the financing, they make sure they know everything, they've shown them all the houses, they can guide them through a home inspection if there is one. I want to deal with people that are in, this is their major, not that this is their minor, or they're walking through the motions, or especially the electives where this sounds like fun. I want to work with professionals. So I think everybody's got to, and I tell this to everyone on my team, you got to look in the mirror, man. Is this your major? Is this your minor? Or is this an elective? Because we all just want to work with people that this is their major. You want to work with people that have a passion for what they do. There are some people, like I just mentioned, there are some people that have a passion for preparing that house and getting that ready and doing the contract negotiations. I want to team up with them. I want to team up with professionals, right? So kind of look at yourself and say, is this my major? Is this my minor? Is this just an elective? And so when we're negotiating a contract, the first thing I'm looking at, forget about the price. I want to see the agents, who's done what, are any of them, who's the agent, who's the lender. If you're dealing with Bob's Mortgage on the internet, that's not a serious contract. I've seen this act. So I want the good agents and all that. The prices are going to come up in here, and we'll work on that. But when push comes to shove, I'm going to look at an agent and go, hey, man, I'd really like to work with you. You're $10,000 behind. Can you guys match that offer? I'd rather work with you than a person that's done one transaction in a year because I don't think they have control of their client. Or during this contract negotiation, one agent is badgering the hell out of you, 12 emails, and the others have 0 emails. And I told, this was this week's negotiation, I told them, I saw one of the agents coming in, their email address. I said, you watch out for them. They're trouble. They're real trouble, man. And so sure enough, before we accepted a contract, 1 out of the 5, she had sent 12, 13 emails. Got to watch out. If you're going to get in bed with somebody, you got to make sure you know who you're getting in bed with, right? And in real estate, we got a 45-day period, and there's going to be a lot of negotiations going forward. So I haven't even started negotiations yet, guys. Okay? So now we're negotiating the contracts. We're accepting the right realtor, the right lender. We're looking at the terms, and we're using the term highest best offers. Now, if I have 5 contracts, I can be a little more pushy on I don't want a home inspection. Contract's going to win this, probably not going to have a home inspection. In fact, I've already done a home inspection. Part of the negotiation is, let me move back forward. there's a term called preparing the battlefield. And preparing the battlefield means I'm going to make sure that I've eliminated all the landmines before we do anything. Now, what's a landmine? Landmine's a home inspection. That'll blow your leg off. So I don't want a home inspection. So I do my own, have our own home inspection done, 6-point home inspection, where they look at the roof, the foundation, the heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. It's all sound. We're all good. Here's our home inspection. I really don't want a home inspection. Or we're hoping to get a contract that doesn't have one. So 9 out of 10 times, they will remove the home inspection when you give them that document. Negotiating, right? Having such a powerful proposition that you can control the battlefield. Okay, so let's remove the appraisal. The appraisal contingency, it comes in, it gives them an out. They might want to walk from a contract because it didn't appraise correctly. That's another landmine I'm trying to get rid of. If I can have enough contracts, you're going to say, look, I'm going to send you my pricing document that's going to show you that this will appraise easily at this number. And I'll send it right to them. Okay? Prepare the battlefield. Get rid of the landmines. The other landmine, escalation clause. I tell the story. We had one contract come in. Agent brought in with an escalation clause. It was $1.4 million. I said, no escalation clause. She's like, I really want to use an escalation clause. So I'm trying to decide. We're trying to decide, will we allow her this escalation clause? So I call the lender, and we talk to the agent. She's like, well, they presented 5 contracts and lost them all. All of them. They love this house. They don't want to lose this house. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that. I'm going to need your highest and best offer. No escalation clause. Is it a risk? Yeah, I only got one contract. But they've already said she loves the house, and they've already lost 5 contracts. They don't want to lose this one. Fine, I need your highest and best offer. So within a half hour, it came back at $1.55 million. They increased it $150,000. They took out the home inspection. They took out the appraisal, and they set settlement for 20 days. Is that sick? And at the same thing we're doing, Kelly and I are pulling this off over on Silkwood. Morgan's doing the exact same thing on Beulah Road. They came up $175,000, and they had one contract. So here goes Chris Voss. Let's talk about Chris Voss. The lady goes, the lady said, my buyer's anxious. Can we get word on this? And there's a mirror thing. You just mention the last word that they say. Say, anxious? And she goes, oh yeah, she's lost 5 contracts. Thanks, Chris. That's going to cost you, ma'am. So what does a seller hire? They're hiring really a negotiator. They want somebody that can negotiate that contract. Somebody get them the highest number. Remember what our goal is? Our goal is to get the highest possible number. And now I'm going to set landmines. I'm going to go in that listing appointment, and I'm going to say, ask the realtor, will they allow highest and best offers, or whether they'll allow escalation clauses. If they say, oh, we allow escalation clauses, because I already know they do, right? Top 10 realtors all allow escalation clauses. I mean, we're buyer agents too. They all allow it. Yes, I allow escalation clause. Their leg's going to get blown off because I've got the seller prepared. If anybody says they use escalation clause, you got the wrong realtor. So not only am I in that negotiation to get the listing, I'm also preparing the battlefield so that my competitors come and say the wrong word, they're going to get the leg blown off. So if they allow escalation clauses, then you would have lost $150,000 on that contract. So you walk in, hey, how are you? My name's, excuse me, do you do escalation clauses? Sure, we do escalation clauses, no problem. Could you go out the door? Could you leave? I do all of that. I say, if you don't have a Morgan sitting next to you, and if an agent walks in the door and they got one person, you got the wrong agent. There's no way I can handle everything you need to do for this. I need 2 people. I'm going to set the price. I'm going to set the marketing. I'm going to do all of this. But let me tell you something. The most important thing in this transaction is her, because she's going to make sure this house gets prepared correctly, and she's going to be here when that phone rings. she's going to be doing this and she's going to be doing that. So if somebody walks in this door and they're a single realtor, I couldn't do it. I'll admit it. I can't do it. I can't handle all the details of a listing. There's just no damn way. So again, part of the negotiation is preparing the battlefield for what you're trying to do, right? So just real quick in the listing presentation, preparing the battlefield is setting up landmines for the agent that walks in behind. Oh, if they're coming in from Compass and they start talking about their company, if anybody talks about their company, your company's not going to sell your house. Compass doesn't have any technology that everybody else doesn't have. You hire agents, not companies. When they rely on companies, they are telling you that they need to rely on them, not you. If they say that they're going to charge a certain commission because they got to do it, that's because they got to pay their broker. Long and Foster ain't going to help you sell your house. So anyways, part of negotiations is preparing the battlefield, right? And let's move on to our contract negotiations with the other agents. The whole time we're talking with the other agents, we are preparing the battlefield. We are telling them, look, this is what the sellers do and don't want. This is what we think the winning contract is going to be. This is the time that we need your contracts and what we need to do. You know, we don't lie and say we have 7 contracts when we have none. The truth will set you free. We're always telling the truth. Everybody's saying they're writing. We don't know until Monday at noon how many we get in. And do not ask me how many contracts we have, because that is privileged information for the seller, not the buyers. So don't ask me to tip my hand and tell you that, right? I work for the seller. I'm going to hold that to myself, right? So we're through the contract negotiations. We've won that. We've won as much as we can. We've gotten rid of home inspections. And I would say that the deal about getting home inspections first, and I use a guy named Bob Lamb, L-A-M, Bob Lamb, very simple to remember, as the guy that does the 6-point inspections prior to my listings. And I don't have his contact information, but it's easy to find. Bob Lamb, home inspector. And Bob comes out, and he does very thorough, costs about $500. But let me tell you something. How many people have lost a deal from a home inspection? Everybody, right? I have, you have, we all have. What does that cost our seller when we lose a home inspection? Probably about 60, 70, 80,000 bucks. One, it costs $100,000 from where we were to where we eventually ended up, because now everybody thinks something's wrong with the house. So in saving $100,000, I recommend we get a home inspection prior to. Now, if an agent doesn't recommend you, here we go again. If an agent doesn't recommend you get a home inspection before listing the house, see what I'm talking about? There's landmines everywhere. If you walk behind us, there's landmines everywhere. So, anyways, and it's not, and the truth is, I'm not setting landmines to be mean or be, it's just, there's very important things. I really walk into a listing saying, if you don't list with me, you're going to lose $100,000. And I truly believe that. So I'm trying to set things that you won't make a mistake. You know, you're not going to pay extra money to Compass. You're not going to rely on a company. You're not going to allow escalation clause. That alone costs that seller $150,000 if I allowed escalation clause, right? So I'm thinking, if you don't go with us or you don't listen to me and you listen to some of them and something like that happens, you're going to lose $100,000. And I believe that, right? So I'm not setting landmines to be mean or vicious or anything like that. I'm setting it because I don't want them to make a mistake. And if a realtor comes in who's maybe this is their minor or an elective, I have landmines going all over the place, right? So anyways, let's get back to negotiation. So we prepare the battlefield, we set expectations, we bring our contracts in. At that point, it's pretty easy. It's highest and best. We want to work with the best realtor. We want to work with the best lender. We want to talk to all of them to find out from the lender how many times they put in contracts, how many times they've lost. We want as much information as we can, because when I look at a seller, I'm going to say, I think we should go with contract number 2. And this is how we should do it, right? And we'll be going back and forth. I'm not going to take the sellers on this roller coaster ride. We're negotiating with these agents. Hey, can you get up You're 10 behind. I'd like to work with you. Can you do 10? And then he goes, or she goes, yeah, I can get 10 more. I can get 10 more. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I don't want to hear a peep. I'm giving you this deal. You owe me. I don't want to peep. You understand? Don't you be coming at me with some weird stuff, right? I'm cool. I'm cool. Look, I'm not going to give you any problem. And if you guys are buyers, whether it's Casey Samson or any other listing agent, I'm not going to be any problem. I'm going to make this go real smooth. Because I'm negotiating when I'm a buyer agent with a listing agent. I want you to take my contract. You think that's a negotiation? You bet your ass it's a negotiation. Don't email them 12 times. That's number one. What do you want? What do you want? We want the house. What do you want? What do you need? Fine. Now, if what they want is too high and it just doesn't make sense in my pricing, I think they're asking too much, I'll tell the buyer, you're going to pay a $100,000 premium if you want this house. I don't recommend we do it, but you can do it if you want. You really like it, you're going to pay a $100,000. I'm going to tell you exactly what it's worth. And you're going to pay a $100,000 premium. If you really want this house, then you can go ahead and pay for it, right? But in negotiations, we're also buyer reps. So we're trying to get that contract. Let's flip this around. You know what? I don't even care about the time. We're going to keep going on this because this is very important. So let's say we're a buyer. I have a buyer, and I'm looking to negotiate, right? So we know that 50% of the homes are going to withdraw unsold, right? So if I've got a buyer, I'm looking for somebody's house been on the market for 60, 70 days because then I'm the only buyer. Right? I'm not the 10 that get them coming on the first day. I'm the only buyer you got. So now I've got 10 listings or 5 listings or 6 listings to pick from. Now I flip the script. I'm the one. And you're the 6. You buyer. So, she's considering, 5 houses. She likes your house. And you've priced it at X. But here's what it's worth. And I do a whole pricing model on that. And say, your home builder, your home is not 1.975. It's 1.825. That's what it's worth. And I can prove it 5 different ways. We want a home inspection, it's 1.825. We get 1.85, right? Which is a great price, new home. But you see, I was the one. They were the 10. They had all these houses, new homes on the market, and we come in, and now we flip the script, and we're number 1. So the key is, I guess, first of all, try and be the one with the leverage. Try and be the 1, not the 10. And if you're going to buy the agents, and they're looking on houses that are coming on the market every day, and they jump on it, just understand you're the 10, not the 1. Can you still win them? Yes, you can. You're going to pay a premium? Yes, you are. You're going to not get a home inspection? Probably not, because people are going to be fighting over that. But I'm telling you, the opportunity for buyers is here because they're overpricing their houses. They're way overpriced on these houses. They're going to withdraw the listings. Now you can come in and say, I know you're asking $850, but the house is worth $775, and I can prove it. Now, who do you think is telling the seller their house is worth $775? The agent. The agent knows it, and he's saying it, but the person won't come down. So they leave it on the market for 30 to 60 days. They find out they were right. The agent was right. It is $775. It ain't $850. You come in. We'd like this house. We're going to do a home inspection. We're going to offer $775, not because we're lowballing, but that's what it's worth. Now you have the 1, and they are the 10. So flip it when you're a buyer. Look for the leverage. Danny is an expert at getting what he wants by having leverage. Yeah, I got a couple $1 million in escrow account. You going to do this for us or not? I'll move that money out of your account in a heartbeat. Danny will leverage things like you'll never imagine. My brother, Danny. Incredible. Balls of a lion. Great negotiating skill is who have I got leverage over. So anyways, so now we've gone through the contracts, and now let's come to the biggest negotiation of all, the home inspection. 19 homes on the market, another one under contract. Everybody's going to want a home inspection, right? So we're going to run into them just like everybody else. We're going to try and throw them out. But the biggest negotiation you have is the home inspection. Why? Because what is the seller going to say? Sam, what does the seller say first thing somebody home inspects the house? I'm not going to pay a nickel. I'm not going to pay a goddamn nickel. I'm not paying you anything. This is a great house. I love this house. I'm not paying a nickel. What is the buyer going to say? I want 20 grand. I want $20,000. Who's right? Is it 0 or is it 20 grand? Well, we're the ones that need to negotiate that to hear. Because what happens, and I tell this to the seller, now listen, I'm going to negotiate really hard, but I just want you to know if this house goes back on the market, we're going to lose 50 grand. Not 20, we're losing 50. So I'm just set expectations in the negotiation. I'm going to set expectation with the seller. I'm going to say, if this goes back on the market, we're screwed. We're going to lose $100,000. So everybody just stand by. I know, we're not paying a nickel. The wife is going, give him the 20 grand. Fuck it. We got to get out of here, man. Give him the 20 grand. So it's somewhere between 0 and 20 grand is where we're going to end up. Now, again, what's the number one saying you have to know in real estate? The truth will set you free. The truth. What is the truth? Well, we need to analyze that home inspection. We need to find out what is really wrong with this house, as you said. What really is wrong with it? And at first, the other guy's like, I don't care. Well, we have 7 windows that are popped. The seals have popped. Now, we try and repair those before, but let's just say for the hell of it, those got to be fixed. Those are 7. I mean, that's this amount of money. So what I do is I itemize everything down the list. So get a spreadsheet and itemize every item and then put what the cost is going to be and then who's going to fix it. This is a plumber. The toilet's broken upstairs. Yeah, we got a plumber. We'll have a plumber come in. Yeah, the panel box has got a couple of, 20 volt instead of 14 volt or whatever the hell it is. They got a problem in it. All right, as an electrician. We have 3 things for a plumber, 2 things for an electrician. I got good plumbers, good electricians. They're going to fix this. So then I'm going down the list. I'm going, we'll fix it, we'll fix it, we'll fix it, we'll fix it. If it's easy to fix and I get a professional to do it, we're going to fix it. Right? If then now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the things that are kind of like, weird. Things that are maybe wear and tear items. It's like, look, so I try and get items that we're going to fix. And those that I cannot fix and put a price on, I'll just give you a credit. And then we got to negotiate what that credit's going to be. So we're not 0 and we're not 20, but if I can logically prove to you, if I could show you where the flat is, I'm going to show you exactly where the flat is and tell you the truth. Here's what we need to do, and here's our number. As long as the buyer and seller feel that things are reasonable and easy to explain, and those that are not explainable or we can't fix or that's just a problem and you're going to have to live with it, there's no way I can fix that. You're just going to have to live with it. It was like that when I got it. It's going to be like that when you sell it. There's nothing you can do about it. So you try and put some kind of number on it. Reasonable number. So you say, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. Safety issue, fix it. Safety issue, fix it. Electrical, plumbing, no doubt about it. We're fixing those right out of the gate. I'll call up a plumber. I'll call up an electrician. You're not going to do it. You're not going to replace the electrical panel. He's going to do it. And to be honest with you, now that we know about it, you can't sell the house without doing that. You got a faulty frickin' panel? Jesus Christ, we're fixing this thing. Right? I'm not going to sell a house that's going to explode on some family of kids. Right? And you look at the wife and go, you wouldn't want to buy a house that's got an electrical panel problem, would you? So I think that the key to negotiating the home inspection is to itemize, categorize, and then monetize. And then look at it and go, I got a plumber, I got an electrician, I got a handyman. I have no idea what the hell to do with this. You're going to come to that. But what you want to do is you want to isolate the crazy problems. If you look at a home inspection, we all have, there's 42 items. The seller's like, screw this. So I don't even show them that yet. I go, look, I'm going to send you this, but here's a breakdown of everything it is. You need to analyze that and monetize it. Analyze, categorize, monetize. I just made that shit up. I literally just pulled that out, Sam. But that's what you do. I mean, you're like, where the hell do we start? how do I negotiate this? Well, let's write it down. Let's start at the beginning. Just itemize it, right? What is it looking for? And a lot of times the seller will say, I'm not paying a dime. It's like, well, let me show you the 17 things that they saw that they're not asking you to fix. So, I mean, they're not being it. They're not trying to be hard asses. They just, they want a safe house. They want things fixed. Everybody, what's the third thing we say in contract negotiations? Stay calm. If ever there was a time to stay calm, now's the time. What's the next thing we do? We set expectations, right? Okay, look, you don't want to have an electrical panel that's going to blow up. We got to fix certain things. So just let me come to you get mad, you get angry, you go have a bourbon, you freak out, and then tomorrow morning we're going to itemize this. Itemize, monetize, and categorize. And then I'm going to send it to you. It's going to make total sense. What I say is going to make total sense, right? So I think that if you think about if I'm a realtor and this is my major, then you got to be an expert in contract. You got to start with Chris Voss. You got to start with Chris Voss. Go to masterclass.com. And it's great, but I'm not talking about cooking or any of the rest of that crap. I'm talking about Chris Voss. Go get his thing. Watch it. I watch it probably at least twice a week. Watch certain segments twice a week. And it always helps. It always sharpens you up in all of this. And I can't tell you, you never know when you're going to need it. But I will tell you this. I watch it and I'm trying to figure out where I apply that. And she goes, yeah, my buyer's really anxious. And I went, anxious? Immediately I thought of Chris Voss. Anxious? And then not even sure where I was going with that. She just, bleh, just, bleh, oh. And immediately it hooked on me. That's going to cost you $150,000. Yeah, man. So, you do something like that, and you're never sure when you're going to need it, but it's nice to have it in your pocket. I call them tools, right? You all have to have as many tools as you possibly can. The job of a realtor is to identify the tools. Sam did a great thing the other day on AI. That is just a tool. It's not the end-all to be-all, but it's a tool you use. How can I use this? And again, most of these things you go to don't make any sense or they're BS and you just kind of bluff it off. You're looking for that one nugget of information you can use. And Sam started giving examples of how you do this and how you apply this and how you let things write stuff for you. I'd never got a link to that. Can you send out a link to that to the Samson Properties, the whole group? Yeah, I mean, I would really highly recommend you watch this because, can I use this? Can I use that? I can use this, and this is how I can modify it. And like you said, it's going to give you, I went in and I put in some stuff on a house, and it gave me all this stuff. Well, I'm not going to do it all. I think I did 5 things you need to do to prepare your house. I just said, give me 5 things you need to do to prepare your house. And it literally wrote it all out for me. And it was really good. But I didn't kind of agree with this. I didn't agree with this. But I do agree with all this. I do agree with the format. So you can use it. You're not dedicated to it. You don't do everything. But you can certainly use it. Okay? So I guess the contract negotiation is kind of the end of our the first 96. And, the first 96 was designed, this series was designed that we got to get this house sold in the first 96 hours. Or at least have everybody interested in getting contracts coming in within the first 96. Because if this slides into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, we are screwed. And I don't care whether there's 20 houses on the market or no houses on the market. You got to get this under contract. And the only way to do that, like we laid out, is the pricing, preparing the house, doing the marketing during coming soon, do the predictive analysis, right? Get all that done, and now it's on with the negotiations. And that's a negotiation that follows you through all that thing. But that's where it ends. It ends with negotiation. If we get to the first 96 and we have 7 contracts, then we've negotiated properly. Now let's just finish it off, right? If we do something wrong along the way, stop. If you set expectations incorrectly, stop. Do not sail that ship. Do not launch that ship or that listing if you have improper pricing or it's not prepared correctly, or your expectations were not set correctly, you've got to do it all. And that's why this has got to be a major. This is not a minor. It's not an elective. This is for professionals, and you've got to, you just got to do what it takes. So, and again, I tell my agents, 10% of your time should all be spent on education, whether it's listening to this stuff or listening to Chris Voss or listening to something else, listening to Sam and what he's doing, is you constantly have to be educated. 10% of your time needs to be dedicated to it, if not 15. So you've been listening to Coffee with Casey. I've been live from the studios, talking too long. I have no idea how long I've been talking. But, and I want to thank Justin. Justin Donnelly puts all this on. He is what makes Samson Properties look good and does all of this stuff. Yesterday morning he's in Bowie. Today he's got to rush in here and get this done. But there's a huge benefit to the agents of Samson Properties to have the assets like Justin. And I don't even know, what's Zach. And Zach. I had to ask, man. I don't know. You do a lot of stuff in here for me. I never know anybody's name. I'm old. But I want to thank you for listening. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, you can give me a call. I'm at 703-508-2535 or Casey@CaseySamson.com. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye now.